right? And Drake gets mad, right? He is from Memphis and he tough and he really smart, Revenge. He says he goes to LA. He's at a party, right? And he just happens to bump into Drake at the party. And Drake is mad dogging him at the party. Like he's walking, he's like, I noticed a dude. He was like, and he's mad dogging me. And so his buddies come down, they set it up, they talk.
Mad catting.
And Drake just gets like, oh, you tell everybody you wrote my song. He was like, hold up, bro. And he was just, I guess he was at another level. Like when he was kind of in his emotions about, people feeling like Kid Sean wrote his song. And Kid Sean talks to him like, hey, homie, like, look, I see you got all these people with you, and I got my people, but you got all these people with you. If something happens to me, remember your family is from Memphis. You may not be, but your dad. And he's like, yo, whatever happened here, you might get a win here, but I'm going to get my wins there.
Yeah, he said that.
Right. And I say that for that one reason, right? That was the point I've been saying, that if that was Memphis, they would have connected. They would have had that conversation. Boom. Right. Okay. That would have been nothing to set up that conversation. You'd have been like this. That's like somebody in Watts. That ain't going to be no screaming on no internet. That's going to be 2 phone calls at best, if not 1 phone call. It's going to be 2 phone calls, and me and that person are going to be face to face. Right. We ain't got to pop it loud. We ain't got to do that. And you're not going to talk to me like you don't know me. But that's further proof that I'm saying he didn't grow up there, because that could have been solved way simpler. Right. Part 2, Drake had to have had writers at the beginning of his career. Right. And that's not to say somebody was emceeing for him. So in the record business, shout out to everybody at the lunch table. I know I'm going through some shit. Just let me work it out for y'all. In the record business, when somebody says somebody wrote a record, they're talking about they pick the music and then they put the beat with it. That's what, when somebody say write a
record, basically help them construct the record, basically, not word for word and everything like that, though. But
well, again, a record to the record business is a hook and a beat. It's like what I always tell you, right? So
that's right. Hold on, that's writer credits just for that.
Somebody say you wrote the record completely. Wow, because that's the record itself,
not the lyrics.
Radio, no. And I always tell Trap that part of the song is not the most important part of the song. When you pick the beat, so when you hear people say 50 wrote Game's record, they're not saying 50
wrote the lyrics,
wrote Game's rap lyrics. They're saying he picked the music and he wrote the chorus.
Okay.
Right. So
that actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like I said, I'm learning something here.
Does it though? No.
It makes a lot of sense now when I hear somebody say 50 wrote that song. Now I could be like, oh, okay, they meant that he picked
composed it and did everything. You basically saying this because that's the most important part of the song would be the hook and the beat.
The record business is the most important part of the song, not in hip hop, but in the record business. When somebody say you wrote a record, they're referencing your ability to make or pick the beat and put the chorus on the beat. So they'll say you wrote the record. So, right, which is, I was saying this about Drake having writers early. Again, people are going to think that I'm referencing him having MCs or somebody he couldn't MC. That's not what I'm saying. That what they took from that Kia Shine song and made into Best I Ever Had, that's not nobody first time writing a record. That is done really well. That's somebody who understands records. Now, that's not to say Drake don't understand records at this point in his career. He's a fucking monster. Of course he gets it. But that specific record at that time, that's somebody coming up with that idea. That's and it made me realize, that's somebody who been writing records. Because
what would be the difference between that and saying somebody produced the record, though?
The hook.
The hook, okay.
Hook. Right. Hook changes it.
But if you say somebody could just put money into a project and say they produced it, right?
Hell
and do nothing.
Yeah. That's what happened.
That's the difference, Trap.
That's why Texas didn't get credit with Bobby Brown's first album. Gene Griffin, it was the money. Teddy Riley produced Bobby Brown's.
What I mean when I'm asking that is because like you know how like when they say like you got beat makers and you got producers. So the producer will be the person that comes in there and basically, they did the beat, but they also telling you how you should approach the beat also too. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like how you should.
Well, somebody makes a beat. Somebody makes a beat. A producer produces a record.
Yeah.
So a beat maker is somebody who makes a beat. A producer is somebody who produces a record. So that's a completely finishing thing. That's from here to here to the finish line. A beat maker stops, 50% of the way through.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but I was saying, like, I didn't think about it like that, because when I heard Best I Ever Had, I was like, damn, like, this is really good. Like, you could just hear it, like, damn, this is dope. But now listening back to it and hearing it, whoever was involved with that, they was an animal, because they understood. Even at that time, the song was called "Do It for the Boy."
Yeah,
which is weird because Drake ended up taking that as his
boy. Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just weird, but he understood how everything was in a business. You know what I mean? Look, shout out to Cali the God. Glass is always trying to say Drake makes good music when he been caught stealing so many times. Song lyrics, he had to pay rapper $100,000 for stealing his lyrics. Look, you are taking what I'm saying out of context. Drake is one of the best record makers in the business. That don't mean he actually had to write none of the shit down. It don't mean he had to pick nothing. That means his execution of what it sounds like when it goes to radio is fantastic. A lot of the best record makers in the business will tell you you're not trying unless you stealing. And that's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the tricky part, you know what I mean? A lot of things that you might reward artists for, you don't really want to know what your favorite artist was doing. You don't really want to know. Like, if you really knew how this shit worked, you'd look at a lot of people crazy. I'm not lying, dog. It's crazy. So I'm not saying even the Forte thing, like, that's a publishing thing. Like, to know to even take that and then put that into that song is different. But Best I Ever Had, as to turn that into that record from that mixtape song, Blue Magic, no, I want to know. No, you don't. You don't want to know what Michael Jackson did to make Thriller. You don't really want to know, dog. I promise you, you don't want to know.
Coach wants to know.
You don't want to know what Michael Jackson got them dance moves. You don't fucking want to know, because y'all are not prepared to take that type of shit.